Welcome to the City of Clawson's council meeting for Tuesday, October 17th. This meeting is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. God of the impossible, we pray for justice, peace, and reconciliation. When the challenges seem too many, remind us of your power. When the task seems overwhelming, remind us of the miracle of love. And when apathy threatens us, remind us of your vision of a world made whole. Help us to hope that the impossible can happen and live as if it might do so today. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Lubes,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Horton,
Here.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Here.
I'd like to amend the agenda for a 5B, a presentation by the Clawson Community Coalition, Bev Owens.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we amend the agenda, add 5B for the Clawson, for Bev Owen,
Coalition.
Clawson Coalition. I almost said youth assistance.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Harris,
Yes.
Councilmember Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht,
Yes.
Mayor Lubes.
Yes. The first item agenda is a consent agenda. There's one item on the consent agenda, which is approving our minutes from our last council meeting.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as listed.
Support.
Comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht,
Yes.
Mayor Lubes,
Yes.
Councilmember Harris.
Yes.
And now I would invite Bev Owens to the microphone to speak about the coalition work.
Good evening to all. Thank you so much for allowing the Clawson Community Coalition to be added to the agenda this evening. I bring you greetings from the Clawson Community Coalition board members. And in the midst of the planning that the coalition will do each year in regards to the youth as well as the community at whole, just wanted to reiterate and remind some, and even some may be hearing it for the first time, but for several months now, we've advertised in the city of Clawson and also surrounding cities of our 15th prayer breakfast. The Clawson Community Coalition will be sponsoring with the Clawson Chamber of Commerce hosting it. It is on Tuesday, which is a week from today, at 7:30 a.m. until 9 o'clock a.m. And it's at the Hunter Community Center, 509 Fisher Court, here in the city of Clawson. The event is a donation. We're asking for a donation of $10. And if, as always, if it's anyone that may not have the $10, we just invite all to come. You can give any amount or you do not have to give an amount. The coalition a lot of times struggle with trying to do fundraisers because we really enjoy being able to offer things for the community at no cost. We have several things that we offer to students throughout the year that may be at no cost, but sometime we will ask if someone could give a donation. Just to reiterate something that I came to you maybe a little over a couple months ago, I think I mentioned to you, this is our second year that we were able to offer the youth of Clawson 1 week of free day camp, and it was a success. And the students, of course, didn't have to pay for anything. We gave them morning snack as well as a lunch throughout the day, and a lot of the days we asked what would they like for lunch. We were able to go to a lot of the areas here in the city to purchase lunch from them at various of restaurants. I'll just move on quickly just to talk just a moment in regards to the prayer breakfast. Each time we have the prayer breakfast, we like to have one or either two people that we will honor And on this year, we're honoring two people. I'm only going to tell you one person, only because the second person do not know that they're being honored. And if for whatever reason they decide to watch this on the cable television, I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise. But that one person that will be honored has been a resident of the city of Clawson for over 62 years. With that being said, our second person that we will honor is our Mayor Penny Loops, which has been our mayor for 10 years, as well as other things that she's done here in the city. So we're asking if everyone that's listening to me, whether in this room or listening on television, if you could please put it on your schedule to join us. If for whatever reason you're not able to join us, you can send your donations to P.O. Box 77, Clawson, Michigan 48017. A lot of the donations will go toward the activities that we like to do for the community and especially our youth. We have several people that will speak at the prayer breakfast. This prayer breakfast we have not been able to do in 3 years. So the last prayer breakfast we had was October 2013. The reason for not being able to do it annually, it was due to budget. But the way things are going, it really appears that we will be blessed to be able to do it on next year and perhaps following years. I say that to say to you, I invite you guys again. I encourage you to come. There's many in this room that have helped us in regards to writing the program for the event, as well as working behind the scenes with doing a lot of the typing, because that's not one of the things that I'm good at, and I would call very often to ask for help. So I say to you, thank you so much for this time that you have allowed me to be here this evening, and we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, October the 24th at 7:30 a.m., and every prayer breakfast is over before 9 o'clock. We just put 9 o'clock on the program, but by 8:59 or before, the prayer breakfast is over, and you can go on to your morning plans that you would normally have. Are there any questions?
If someone, you just show up at the door?
Yes.
Okay.
What we normally do, and thank you so much for asking that, we have to ask for RSVP, and we normally have a cutoff. The 18th is the cutoff for RSVP. But what I've done in the past, which I am doing, of course, for this event as well, we always add extra seating, because always there have been many that will just show up, and we're happy that they will show up. So I appreciate you saying that. So as many that can come, and even if there are not enough seats, there are a lot of chairs in the storage at Hunter Community Center. We can pull chairs out and make room for everyone.
For someone who didn't get the original email a week ago or so, or maybe longer, how do they RSVP, someone who's just hearing this for the first time?
Well, Michael Smith had put the information out for us, and it is on the City of Clawson website. And if it's any other area that someone would like to seek, I'm quite sure Mike will be able to, city clerk will be able to accommodate if I'm not giving accurate information. But I believe it's pretty accurate what I'm saying. I have hard copies with me. I will leave them in the rear because I'm leaving in just a moment. If anyone in the room would like to take a hard copy, feel free. Any additional questions?
What will the coalition be doing in the upcoming months?
In the upcoming week, I can say that on October, thank you so much for asking that. On October the 25th, the coalition, along with other hats, which I will mention, Bowl One, which is in the city of Troy, as well as other sponsors in regards to the bowling. Clawson Community Coalition is sponsoring the middle school to go bowling. And this is an event that will happen after school. It will be once a week. And the permission slips have been in the schools now for several weeks, as well as every parent that have a student in the middle school have received this electronically by email. Clawson Public School have teamed up with us, and each student that will fill out the permission slip for the after-school bowling, they will be bused from Clawson Middle School by 2:45 p.m. in the afternoon by the Clawson Public School bus transportation. At that point, they will go to the Bowl 1, which is at 14 in John R. Bowl 1 will then have activities. The students will have afternoon pizza, drink, and bowl up to 2 games. And by 4:30, all the parents have to do is pick the student up from Bowl 1. Last year, we ran this program, and it was at no cost for the students. Unfortunately, the count was very low, so we were not able to have the 4 weeks to extend for the students, but we did go out later on a Sunday and was able to give free bowling to families and students, and we had a lot of families that were able to come and bowl with their students. But with all that being said, this particular event, there is a cost of $32 for the 4 weeks for the students, and as I mentioned, all the things that they will receive. But if there's any students, any parents that cannot afford the $32, then they will contact the Clawson Community Coalition, and we have added it to our budget. At this point, we have 9 participants that have already signed up and filled out their permission slips along with their parents, submitting their checks to the Clawson Public Schools. We would like a count of 12. So I had a short meeting on today, and I brought it to the attention of the people that make the decisions in regards to what the count should be. 12 is the count, so if for whatever reason there is a family that do not have the $32, the Clawson Community Coalition will pay, and that's a total of $96 for those 3 families. So I say that to say, part of the funding from the prayer breakfast could very well help support the bowling event for any families that may not have it in their budget for their child to attend. Any other
All right.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. I will look forward to the next time I'm invited to come back, and I thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item looks at authorizing the Planning Commission to distribute their draft master plan. We have a master plan in the city. Every 10 years, the master plan is developed, and every 5 years, the master plan is reviewed. And we do have our planner to speak about our master plan for a few minutes.
Well, mostly I'm here to answer questions, but I will say that this is updating your former plan, which was adopted on January 20th of 2009. As you said, Mayor Lubes, it should be updated every 5 years by statute, and this update was undertaken when I started here with you in 2016. The document that you have in your packets or that you picked up here, maybe out of your mailbox, I don't know if it was distributed, is still a draft. It is the current working draft that the Planning Commission has prepared, and the next step in the approval process is for that to be distributed to the communities and other entities that got our notice of intent to plan, the surrounding municipalities and then utilities and other agencies that get that notice, for them to have a 63-day period to comment on the draft plan. So that's a long time, and we're anxious to get that process underway so that we can move forward with adoption. When we didn't start from scratch with this plan, we started with what was there before. Some of the text is the same, in fact, as what was in there previously. But our starting point was to update the community profile to look at current demographics. And as the process went along, and there's a few typos in there because of it, we tried to update that further based on, originally we looked at the 2010 census, and then we looked at the American Community Survey, which are estimates. as that became available during the course of the process, and so in an effort to have the most current information we could. But in some cases, it's kind of conflicts, and because the ACS being an estimate, it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily as accurate as the census itself. But we'll clean those things up as the process moves forward. Some of the interesting things that we discovered in doing the community profile, or things that are of significance for planning purposes, in general, housing, and this is not just true of Clawson, it's true nationwide, housing sizes are decreasing. You see many more 1- and 2-person households than you have in the past, and as a result of that, if you're going to maintain a stable population, the implications of that for planning purposes are that you need more housing units somewhere. The other thing that we've observed is that the velocity of how the housing market in Clawson is very high. In other words, houses don't stay on the market very long. So as you take those two things together, what you may see in the future, and especially given that you've limited the ability of folks to divide their property through your large lot ordinance, is that you'll see property values bid up, and you may see them bid up to the point where they exceed the value of the housing that's on those parcels, and it may lead to tear downs. So a solution to that is to create more housing stock, but a fundamental principle from which we proceeded in preparing this was that the neighborhoods are sacrosanct. There's 70% of the city that's existing in single-family housing, and we assume that will all stay exactly that way. The plan recommends things to, one of the things that we've observed at Planning Commission is that to the degree some new infill housing has happened, single-family housing has happened, it has not necessarily been design compatible with what exists there already. And so the plan, you'll find, recommends that be addressed going forward in the ordinance to try to prevent that to the greatest degree possible. But the plan intends that the neighborhoods remain, single-family neighborhoods remain as they are. So the additional housing that could occur is intended to occur along the major thoroughfares. And mostly that's within a concept of creating mixed-use corridors along those major thoroughfares, as you'll see on the future land use map, which is incorporated into the plan. It's really the heart of the plan in many ways. Those kind of fuchsia areas that you'll see along West 14 Mile and along South Main are the intended mixed-use corridors. So right now you have a hodgepodge of local commercial, general commercial, office, multifamily, all along those areas. And what the plan contemplates is that a new mixed-use district will be created for those areas, which could be any of those things, and will also maximize the flexibility of those zoning districts so that you aren't excluding things arbitrarily that might want to come to the city. Just because we've had situations, for example, where the property on one side of the street would have allowed a use and the property on the other side of the street does not. And that doesn't make any sense. There's not any real good reason for that, and the goal of the plan in recommending this is to harmonize that. The other thing that it does, if you look at the retail gap analysis that we did, you'll find that it's difficult for Clawson, surrounded as it is by a lot of regional shopping, to compete in terms of retail. It's not an attractive destination for that. And so the idea of creating commercial zones that are as flexible as possible is also intended to further economic development by, as I mentioned before, not excluding any use that we might not have foreseen. So when a new idea comes we're ready to embrace that if it's good for the community and can meet the kind of design standards to which we want to hold it. Other highlights, we did a pretty robust amount of public participation. We had an online survey that stayed up from Election Day in 2016 through the tree lighting at the end of the year. We ended up getting 328 responses to that, which we thought was pretty good. We conducted 4 roundtable discussions with folks from the community. We did one at the high school. We did one at the senior center. We did one with business people. And there was a 4th one, the chamber. And we did one with the chamber as well. And got some good feedback from those. And then the Planning Commission themselves completed a goals survey that we used to inform the goals and objectives update that is in the plan.
Well, I'm excited that included in this master plan is sustainability and green infrastructure.
Right.
Which would address permeable pavement, rain gardens, rain barrels, green roofs, urban tree canopy, land conservation, with the suggestion of the future action to that the city would adopt a sustainability plan that would be framed by policies and the overall vision of the community. A sustainable committee or similar advisory body could be created, incorporate green design standards, and encourage adaptive reuse. So I'm thrilled to see it in there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a new section, and as you know, the city has a combined sewer system for the most part, and given that, it becomes particularly important to try to do things to eliminate impervious surfaces wherever that's possible, and try to minimize the amount of stormwater running off into that system. And so that was part of our motivation for including that. And as you say, Mayor, a next step would be that sustainability plan as part of the implementation. There is an implementation schedule in there, and per a good suggestion from one of the planning commissioners, we tried to tie a number of those tasks to actual survey input that we had, and so you'll find that toward the end of the document, keyed to particular things that were said in the public input that we gathered, and I think that's on pages 80 and 81, and 80, and then on 81 is the zoning plan that discusses the new mixed-use districts, as I mentioned, and some other obsolete districts that we would suggest could be eliminated at this point. The downtown plan was taken as a given and incorporated in here by reference, and the future land use map that you saw there, the city center and surrounding area is the uses designated are the same as in the downtown plan. They come right out of the downtown
Sadly,
plan.
yes.
No comment.
But I have a comment about the housing. When you reported on the housing, the upcoming news that may assist Clawson with housing is that Troy on Livernois, south of 15 Mile, where the old Farmer Jack's was, is going to be apartments and condos. So that is close enough to Clawson to be able to walk downtown and walk and enjoy our park and other areas.
Right. That will be so.
Thank you. Any
Welcome.
questions?
Any other questions?
Just one. I know this goes out to the surrounding communities for 63 days. So we each now, I've just gotten a written copy of this. I mean, I got the electronic version Thursday, but I like to highlight, and so we will also have time to give our input and
Yes, and let me say, so then the next thing that happens once the 63-day window expires is that the Planning Commission will set up a public hearing for the community, and we'll conduct that public hearing. After that, they have the ability to approve it unless you, council, decide that you want to approve it. And so you don't have to decide tonight, but at some point prior to the expiration of the 63 days and the public hearing taking place, you should decide whether you want to be the final say on adoption of the plan or not. The statute does not require that, but if you by resolution say that you want to have approval authority over it, then you do. And so then, under that scenario, after the planning commission has in that case recommended approval of it, it'll come finally to council. Otherwise, the remaining input will all be, and regardless, the remaining input will be all gathered up by planning commission and staff and put into that document that we hold a public hearing on, 63 plus days
Yeah,
from now.
December something or November, or, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Greg, one question. In the paper copy I received and the electronic copy, the last page says Appendix A survey results. Will that be included in the distribution?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it will. It didn't occur, we've had so many copies at planning commission, we've left that off. So it didn't occur to me that maybe you all haven't seen it yet, but I will be happy to forward that to you. So yeah, those printed results.
Will that be sent to the surrounding communities as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll send a
Thank you.
copy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move the planning commission be authorized to distribute their draft master plan pursuant to the Planning Enabling Act.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Albrecht,
Yes.
Mayor Lubes,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Horton.
Yes.
The next item is establishing a public hearing for comments on the 2018 Program Year Community Development Block Grant application.
Mayor, I move a public hearing to solicit comments on the 2018 Program Year Community Development Block Grant application be established for Wednesday, November 8th.
Support.
So November 8th is a Wednesday. Historically and generally, all of our council meetings are on the first and third Tuesday, except for major election years. So due to the election on November 7th, this meeting will be held November 8th. Mr. Pollack, what is staff recommending for block grants this year?
I believe the money is all being recommended for Haven and the sidewalk truncated domes for ADA requirement. I believe those are the two items.
Okay, and that's similar to what we did last year and the year before that.
Yes, we've unfortunately ran into difficulty with some of the funding we did for senior transportation. The requirements of questions that must be asked of riders was too invasive, I think, for our Parks and Rec coordinator, Kathy Leanouts, to administer, as well as the large print books that we did for years for the library. Same thing, they require all these questions that we feel are very personal questions and certainly not something we wanted to be responsible for. So that took some of the funding that we'd used for years for other items away. So I guess fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the sidewalk program doesn't require those type of questions, and it is something we've utilized before, and we certainly have more than enough ADA required sidewalks to do. So it's an area that we know that we can utilize.
Thank you. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Lubes,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Yes.
The next item is consideration of approving a resolution to be in compliance with state election law regarding the filing deadline of nominating petitions for the regular city election. Due to recent legislative changes on nominating petition deadlines, the Michigan Municipal League conducted a search of city charters, and ours contains a nominating petition due date other than the current state law. The state amended the election law in 2012 to reflect a due date for nominating petitions 15 weeks prior to an election. Before this, the deadline was 12 weeks. So this resolution will move to bring us in compliance.
Madam Mayor, I move the resolution to update our charter language pertaining to filing nominating petitions for regular city elections, stating that it is superseded by Michigan election law MCL 168.644E as amended under PA 44 of 2010 and PA 276 of 2012, with the candidate nomination petition filing deadline being 4:00 p.m. on the 15th Tuesday prior to every odd year November election, be approved, and to authorize the city clerk to send the approved annotation for codification in the city charter, Chapter 5, Elections, Section 507.
Support.
Questions or comments? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Lubes?
Yes. The next item is to pay the bills in the next 2 weeks.
Madam Mayor, pay the bills.
Support.
Any questions on the bills? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Lubes?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
City Attorney's report.
No reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I did have a few items I wanted to mention. After discussion with our bond advisors, we will be holding a council workshop as part of the process for the pension bond. Part of the requirement is that council be fully versed in the process, and a workshop is a good avenue for that to happen. We'll try and get something scheduled in November and December when the new council is seated, and then we can answer all questions. Obviously, the public will be invited as well for questions or comments, but we hope to proceed with that sometime next year. And I feel like we've got a lot riding on petitioning the state for the pension bonds. It'll certainly help us fix that funding. Another item is, I'm pleased to report the recycling carts are working in Clawson. We had a report, 29% increase in recycling volume September of this year versus September of last year. So as far as percentage goes, we were on the higher end of the Saukra communities. But there were a couple of exceptions, they think anomalies where it showed less, but they're in communities that do a ton of recycling to begin with. And we think until we get our facility open, to get really accurate numbers. It was clear that we were getting an increased percentage, but the numbers will be better once our facility's open later this year. If anyone's taken materials to the Coolidge facility for drop-off, they found out during the week that they're closing due to the construction. But the plan right now is to have every Saturday to have a drop-off basically event where if residents have electronics, metal scraps, books, other items that they used to take to the facility to drop off, they can do that on Saturdays in limited hours. I think safely, I think there's about a 4 to 6 hour period each Saturday that they can take in from, and they've got people kind of directing at the gates to where to go. And when the facility's open, it'll be back to, you can take your items there on a regular basis any day of the week. And then I did want to mention the Parks and Rec Advisory Board has a survey available until October 31st. We have information on the website. We still have cards and hard copies here, City Hall, Library, Hunter. We encourage everyone to go on and take that survey to help guide the Parks and Rec Master Plan as well. So I just wanted to encourage anyone who hasn't taken the survey yet, please go online, follow the link, and take that survey. That's all I have.
We watched the news in the last few days. Is there any update on a shooting in Clawson?
They're still searching for the shooter. No new information today. I do believe one of the witnesses came forward and provided a statement. But they're trying to enhance video to identify the person who responsible for the shooting. So we hope that with help of other agencies and maybe public, someone would recognize, hopefully the biggest thing is to try and get the plate number of the vehicle. They have a partial plate number, but if they're able to enhance that video and get a full, clear shot of the plate, they'll have a much better opportunity to find the individual. But as of today, they still did not have an identification, but they are actively working on that.
Thank you. Is there, I had heard rumors of a pedestrian crossing going on Main Street south of 14 Mile that your report council approved with a grant. I have no recollection of that.
Well,
Do you have the date of the meeting that occurred yet?
I don't, and I'll look it up and find it. I'll have Harry send a summary of the grant that was approved by council. It's been, I believe it was in 2016, because we were up for federal aid funding in award in 2019, and we were moved forward on the list to 2018. So that project will be done next year, and as part of the project, there'll likely be striping and possibly signage, along with moving the smart shelter on South Main to provide a safe place to cross on South Main. Specifically, there's no architectural drawing. I think it's just in a draft phase right now to see if we could provide striping when they redo the road and signage, and I believe it would be near Gardner. But it wasn't official, it wasn't approved. It was an idea that while they're doing the Main and the 14 Mile Road reconstruction, that if it's possible to provide a crossing there, that they would make the recommendation to council to do so.
There's not going to be any concrete or anything like that in the middle or anything?
No, it would be the
Just striping?
polyurea striping to reflect and show that this is an area to cross, and then it would be the yellow signs with the arrows. There's a possibility of getting the solar rapid flash beacons to alert traffic there, but there won't be any island or any cement, or it would basically be, here's an area for you to cross safely with identification from signage and striping.
Thank you.
We'll be able to see that before they start it? Or do we
Yes.
have any say-so on it?
Yeah, I asked Harry to give a summary of the project that was submitted and approved for grant funding back in 2016, and then when they have basically a concept drawing of where it would be, to submit that. So you'll get to see that.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
Mark, it's my understanding that with respect to the shooting that was done at the hideout, that the owner has stepped up and offered a $1,000 reward for anybody leading to the arrest and conviction of the said shooter.
Okay.
So I think it'd be a great idea for a Kickstarter campaign, maybe, and maybe the community might want to. That's certainly not something we want to have in our town, but I'd be willing to donate to that. I don't know if that's something that we can do or mention, or
Yeah, it's something we can check with Reef, the property owner there of the hideout, and see if there's something we can do in conjunction with what he's offering. And then I'll try and get some information out about that.
Also, Mark, up where Joe Micros is at there, where the pizza place is at, we had this problem 3 or 4 years ago about the electricity going in and out.
Okay.
Now, it's happening again all of a sudden in the last couple weeks. And I know some of the computers in there have kind of like been fried. So can you talk to your friend there at DTE and maybe we can get something done again?
Okay.
Well, the power is out again in Clausen for about 1,000 homes tonight. Different estimated return times of 9:30 tonight and 11:30 tonight. These are the homes on the north side of the park going up to Maple. I did speak to DTE a few weeks ago, following a resident's concern that it's exactly as you just said, it's happening more frequently. DTE reports they did a study and they will be adding additional equipment in the spring of 2018 for that area.
Yippee-ki-yay. It's the fastest they can do it. Come on.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did, last conversation I had with Mike Palchesko, the regional rep, was that they do have still significant equipment upgrades that they have in areas of Clausen that they plan to do. They've done some already, they're doing some more next year. He did indicate, and it does take some time for them to do all that, but they're supposed to replace outdated equipment. They're doing major upgrades at substations. Because we do have some areas that go out a lot, and they're trying to upgrade the equipment so that that doesn't happen, because, as everybody knows, losing power is a major hassle when it happens. And what they're reporting about the outage right now is that it was related to trees. So I don't know, that's another thing that I requested Mike, they be active again on, is trimming trees away from power lines in easements and rear yards, because that becomes a big problem, because when they start touching the lines, they either blow transformers or cause interruption to power, and they're trying to coordinate all of that to get it done within the next year. And I'm glad to hear the equipment upgrades, because you do have people that are out more frequently, and if the equipment's outdated, they have to update it. So he did say in the spring of 2018, as the mayor reported, that they were going to do some equipment upgrades. They have been doing a lot to substations as well, because that equipment was outdated. So they do have a lot of plans to try and fix the problems so that we don't have the frequent outages.
Yeah, my power was out this evening, but it was restored before I left my home to come
Yeah.
here.
Mine was out for about an hour.
Anything else? Then on to new business. So as you heard earlier, October 24th is a prayer breakfast at Hunter, beginning at 7:30 in the morning. Thursday, October 26th at 1 p.m., Motor City Barbell is having a red ribbon cutting ceremony. So everyone's welcome to join them and welcome them to Clausen. They've been up and running in business for a few months now, but our red ribbon ceremony officially welcomes them to Clausen. October 28th, the Optimist Club is hosting a Halloween party at Baker in the evening. Oh, October 20, let me go back during the day on October 28th from 12 to 3 is the trick-or-treating downtown, a pub crawl in the evening, and the Optimist Club Halloween party at Baker beginning at 6. Admission is $2 in costume and $3 without a costume. Includes food, DJ, dancing, games with prizes, and a haunted hallway. October 29th, Sunday, is the trick-or-treat trail at Clausen City Park beginning at 6. There are about 30 businesses and civic groups that will be passing out candy on the wood chip trail at the park. November 2nd, the Optimist Club is hosting a white elephant sale at 6 o'clock here at City Hall, and the public is invited. You would, in the white elephant sale, things are auctioned off, and you have the opportunity to buy food also, and Julian Brothers is providing the food. November 3rd, the Clausen Athletic Booster Club is hosting a euchre party at Knights of Columbus, and doors open at 7:30, or the games begin at 7:30 with doors opening at 6:30. November 7th, of course, is the election, so informed voters get out and vote. And November 11th is the Clausen High School Craft Show and our own treasure hunt at Hunter Community, sponsored by the Senior Center. Did I miss anything? Okay. Our fire department open house was successful in the last week, and our leaf collection should be in full force now, beginning this week.
Yeah, they're on schedule, not a lot of leaves yet, but
Right.
they'll come through on schedule this week.
Right. Anything else?
Lions Club are going to be our annual, around the Christmas season, we sell Cozy Nuts, and we'll be around selling fruit cakes. Not too many of them, but we'll be selling them. And I think we'll be at the high school, and we'll also be, I think, over there at Hunter Center also selling them. So if you want some Cozy Nuts or fruit cakes, come on down.
Thank you. All right, the floor is open for public discussion.
Hi, my name is Reese Scripture, 148 Park Drive. I just have a simple question. I know that the bond's coming up for the sidewalks, and I've noticed a lot of chatter going on the Clausen neighborhood page and some other stuff, and I'm not super smart about that, so I don't feel comfortable jumping in and making comments, but is anybody monitoring that in the city and maybe jumping on and making, that do know more than I might about that? Because I think there's a lot of, I think there's some, I think there was some misinformation on it or some, I'm not entirely sure, but it didn't sound right what some people were concerned about. So I was kind of thinking, boy, that's a great place to put a message out there about why, because my understanding is that there's support here for that, right? So
I'm a member of both those groups. I have not seen that.
I've seen a few.
But we have in the lobby a one-page flyer that explains about the sidewalk bond, so we
So
can
I
both
can
take
grab
that.
it, but like I said, I'm not an official spokesperson, so I'm not necessarily comfortable jumping on. I just thought that was a fabulous, and even if you don't respond directly to someone, maybe somebody should jump on there and make a couple posts that really know what's going on to say something. It just seems like if the election's right around the corner and if there's misinformation out there, to make sure people get the right information, if that's the vote we, think is
Right.
important.
Right,
That was all.
thank you.
I'd like to comment on that if I can, because it drives
Sure.
me crazy. There is a private group on Facebook called Clausen, and it's got almost 5,000 members. And it was really started 2.5, 3 years ago with some people that I know. And it was done for the purposes of people who really, probably 75% of the people that are on the Clausen site, and that Clausen closed group, don't even live in Clausen anymore. They're retired. They're in Florida. They're in California. They're everywhere. And people go on and they start posting things, about current events. And these people, these 5,000 people, get blasted with information that they really have little or no knowledge of. It was really started so that they could share old pictures and things. So it's kind of gotten hijacked, if you will, or people are asking, hey, where can I go, get a cake made? Well, that's fine. But there's another Clausen site that can do that. And there's the Clausen, news and information page, which might be great for that. Yes, I know which one you're talking about. Right, I know. Right. But Mike does a really good job
Which
of
page?
putting the information out there.
Next door.
What page? Next.
Well, I'll explain it to you in a bit. But there's the community group, there's the, and,
Next door.
yeah, next door, some others, but. Next door. Right. But see, we get a lot of that kind of stuff, and if I think if one of us goes on, in my own opinion, if one of us goes on and comments, it makes it even worse. We can put the right information out there, and then we could be told, oh, no, that's not right, even though, it's.
We've stayed off of that page because that's more residents. Like, we have the website, we have
Right.
Twitter, we have Facebook. We've stayed off that because that's more, we've been asked, Mark has asked, we've discussed it. I mean, if you want to direct us to
No,
create
no, no,
something,
no,
but
no,
that
no.
one is one of the platforms
No.
we've stayed off of. just
That's
because that's more of a residents kind of talking to each other and seeing
It
things
is.
that are going on.
And it kind of turned into our see-click fix where
Yeah.
somebody starts something on something, and the next thing the topic is way over here, and it turns into two people bantering back and forth. And it's unfortunate that, it could be used for spreading good information, but it's unfortunate.
That's why we as council, we watch it, but we kind of not respond on it because like Jim says, if we say something, somebody will blow it out of proportion and there you go, so.
Right, Mike,
Well, do you still beat your wife kind of stuff? You get blamed for, it's somebody throws something out there and then you're found to be defending yourself. And I'm not, as much as I think social media is great for spreading information, it's a blessing and a curse.
So,
Thank you.
Mark and Mike, so if we want to direct residents to a reliable source of information for information about the sidewalk bond, where should they be directed? There's information on our website.
Yes, correct. Mark actually did an interview.
Right.
And it's out on our YouTube page as well as on the website. We have
So-
information, like they said, in the lobby. Anyone who comes in, if they're requesting absentee ballots, they always have questions, and that sheet is there for them to pick up. But yeah, we have all the social media. We have that stuff that we're really getting out there. So, I mean, you can only do so much. It's people have to actually.
Right. And it's difficult for us to maybe engage residents on private groups, but if you see something like that, directing them to those reliable resources for information might be a good idea. A simple link might be enough.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else for public discussion? All right, public discussion is closed.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Olberg,
Yes.
Mayor Lubes,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Horton.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. See you November 8th.